I want to go over something I think is a fallacy. There's like some silver proponents that say that when everything, the whole global system collapses, which could be because of the derivatives bubble, we kind of have a hint that something may come up because of all these derivatives out there. When the entire financial system collapses, we're going to go back to using silver as money because it's been used for all these years. Going back even before the Roman times. I personally do not think so, and I think that's a total fallacy. There may be a currency based upon commodities, and I don't think silver is going to play a very high role in that, but silver I think is going to do very well as far as the value based against fiat money. Now, I hear a lot of snake oil being said on, the silver bloggers and all this garbage, and I think they all read each other's junk, and maybe they read my stuff somewhat too. Who knows? But I'm going to give it an original idea, or maybe it's not so much of an original idea. This is off of Wikipedia. It's the Goldman Sachs Commodity Index, actually the S&P Goldman Sachs Commodity Index. Now, if there's a new currency that comes out, I think it's going to be weighted something like this. Not like silver's going to be monetized. Silver, I know silver's been part of the U.S. money since, from 1964 back, 90% silver coins. Yes, but it actually wasn't monetized. It was demonetized back in the 1870s, and that was pretty much everywhere in the world. Almost every country demonetized silver back in the 1870s, even though it was part of the coinage. Money was actually gold. Now, what I think, if something comes out in the future where it's going to be some new currency, and based upon commodities, it may be something more like this. The number one commodity, for instance, in the S&P Goldman Sachs Commodity Index is energy. 78% of which crude oil is a large portion of it. Unleaded gas, heating oil, gas oil, natural gas. It's the energy sector, 78%. Number two would be agriculture, 10%. Number three, industrial metals, followed by livestock, 3%, and followed by precious metals, less than 2%, of which silver has a much smaller portion. Now, we could say silver shouldn't have a 0.23% average in a new world currency. Maybe it'll be 5%, just making up a number, but my point is, I think a new currency silver would not figure too much in a new currency. I think, well, let me put it this way. Something happened in the world back over 100 years ago, and what we had was the Industrial Revolution. A lot of that came about due to cheap energy, the discovery and the uses of crude oil. And it enabled machinery to do the work of 20 men or teams of horses and all this type of stuff. Yes, we had silver used as money back in the Roman times and the Greek times, and before that during the Middle Ages and all this type of stuff, and throughout the world. But actually, our dollar today is more or less backed by crude oil. A lot of it, in a way, it is, and that's probably why the system kind of works, not perfectly, but it's not going to hold together. I know that, but I think the new system, when there's a new currency, a global currency that comes out, and if there's going to be a lot of commodities in it, energy is going to be the top one, and it's probably going to be something like this, agriculture, livestock, food products, number two. Industrial metals will probably play a bigger part than precious metals. What goes into buildings, what goes into machinery, what goes into the wires in houses, what actually goes into the electric motors, copper, aluminum, structural components, aluminum, right? Planes, aluminum. Yeah, there's silver in it, but silver, when you get silver tunnel vision and you're saying, oh, silver this, silver that, and you start throwing out 8 million facts about silver, it's not really looking at the whole economic picture. If you really think about it, could you imagine what life would... Well, we had silver all along since, thousands of years. What really changed the whole landscape, society on the earth, and enabled the farms to produce much more, where people didn't have to spend 12 hours in the field growing crops. It was crude oil, cheap energy. That's the whole difference. So a new currency, I think, is going to be based heavily on the way this averages on this S&P Goldman Sachs Commodity Index. Also, another good one, Jim Rogers International Commodity Index. Number one in this, energy 44%, agriculture 35%, metals 21%, of which most of that is the industrial base metals. So I think, when people are pushing silver left and right, which I think is going to be a very good investment, I think they are misleading people that we're going to go into this like nirvana state after the world totally collapses, and we're just going to go around with silver, and people who have silver will be saved, and everybody else who doesn't have silver will not be saved. It's almost like a religious thing, and I kind of get this connotation from people saying like, you must have silver, or you will not survive the economic collapse. I don't think that's 100% true. I think silver is a convenient, compact store of wealth, and it's going to do very well. But I don't believe what is being said, and I just don't buy it. I found this kind of humorous. Well, maybe some people hate this, but this is out of the Urban Dictionary, right? And it says preacher often found on street corners talking some nonsense. Well, I don't know if it's nonsense or not about God abusing. But, I always hear this, the apocalypse is coming, repent, repent, repent. It almost becomes, that's the same kind of spiel I'm kind of getting from some people that push the silver. The financial apocalypse is coming. The only way to find salvation is through silver. I almost get that message. And I don't think the new currency is really going to be based too much on silver. I think it's going to be based largely on energy as the major component. Silver is going to be part of it, but we're not going to have a currency where silver is going to be monetized, where it'll make the ratio from silver to gold 15 to 1 permanently. It may go to that ratio in the short term, but due to like pressures from inflation and what's going on in the economy, but it's not going to stay there. So I think people are being misled. It's almost like this type of thing. The apocalypse is coming. Repent, repent, repent. Almost like buy silver, buy silver, buy silver. And sometimes I did remark, because I have seen this angle of. I don't want to knock religion, but I have seen this angle where people desperate looking for an answer, it's almost like people are desperate looking for an answer to the financial crisis and what to do. And, people are saying, buy silver, buy silver, buy silver. It's part of the answer. It's definitely not the whole answer. And it definitely is not going to be monetized again, where people are going to be spending only silver, and silver will be money again. I think that's, there's some real kooks coming pushing up that theory, and I don't think it is. And I'm going to go back to why again, because what changed over 100 years ago was the Industrial Revolution. And the reason society really changed was cheap energy. Now, say for instance crude oil goes out of vogue or something, and they find a way to get free energy. I still don't think it would be silver that will be, the money will be based upon silver. It may be based upon water or some other metal, or actually a weighted average of foods, agriculture, and industrial metals. Silver will play a role, but it's not going to be like silver is monetized again. That's not going to happen. And I get some of this message from some people that seem to push the apocalyptic view of things, and I think they're steering people wrong. You don't want to get too lopsided on this metal, like it's going to save you from everything. It's good to be pretty hard into it, but you know, I do understand the basic economics of how things have been for the last 100-something years. Silver's played an important role, but if you look at it, just look around, use a little common sense. Energy is number one, just like this weighted average is. Number two would be food. Number three would be industrial metals. You know, silver could be considered an industrial metal, but could you imagine a world without copper, lead, nickel, and zinc? That would be something else. That would be something else. The world would not exist either. So don't want people to get tunnel vision on this and get into this, you know, apocalyptic view that repent, 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 only buy silver, and it's the only way to save you. That's not correct. That is not correct.